In this video, we are going to be talking about figurative language. Now, writers and poets, they will use figurative language to build imagery and to give our words more power in our writing. So we're going to specifically look at figurative language with poetry. First, let's look at literal language. When you're using literal language versus figurative language, literal language, well, it's literal. You say exactly what you mean, you make no comparisons, and you do not exaggerate or understate the situation. In figurative language, you don't say exactly what you mean. In fact, you do exaggerate or you understate the situation by using figurative language. Similes, metaphors, hyperboles, etc. make your writing more exciting. Note that figurative language does not intend to deceive. There is an expectation that figurative language will be understood and correctly interpreted by the listener or reader. We get the term figures of speech from figurative language. In poetry, we frequently use figurative language because it can be more meaningful, vivid, expressive. We all know cliches. We're familiar with them, and most cliches are figures of speech. For example, he's as old as the hills. She's a diamond in the rough. I was scared to death. You have nerves of steel. All of these statements are cliches, and they're composed with figurative language. He's not really as old as the hills. She's not really a diamond. I'm still here, so I couldn't have been scared to death. And your nerves might be strong, but they're not actually made of steel. So none of these statements are meant to be taken literally. Let's do a little practice here. We're going to read some statements and let's determine if these are literal or figurative. So the first one, Grant always turns in his homework. That would be literal. The water was rising in the river because of the rain. Again, that can be a literal statement. It's rising, the rain is falling, so it's making the water in the river to rise. Her teeth are like stars because they come out at night. Okay, obviously that one is figurative because her teeth are not stars. They're not going to shine as bright as stars. Number 4, when she sings, her voice is like velvet. Again, that is figurative. Her voice cannot be velvet. Half of the class did not complete the assignment. Okay, while that's a lot of the class, it still can be true. That can be very literal. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. You may have heard that one. That's a common one. Obviously, you can't really eat a horse, so that is figurative. Mike was so angry that steam was coming out of his ears. Okay, again, we're going to have figurative language there. The zebras cried when the wise old elephant died. Again, figurative. Let's look at a few more. The snow was coming down by the bucketfuls. Write down or jot down on notebook paper either F or L, figurative or literal. In this case, that would be figurative because the snow is not going to actually come down in buckets. Number 2, Mary is always dressed neatly. That one can be taken literal. She might always dress neatly. Number 3, Native Americans believed that the sun was a god. Okay, again, that one would be figurative as the sun would not be like a god, even though it might be in their belief system. Number 4, these bags are so heavy my arms are falling off. We might say that, but your arms aren't really falling off. So that is figurative. And the last one, Mrs. Brown sometimes gives us too much homework. Well, that can be taken literal because maybe she does. Jokes, too, will use figurative language a lot. And that's what makes them so funny, right? There are a host of non-literal methods of expression that help make foreign concepts familiar to you. just by using figurative language, or you can grasp the concept better. So there's 7 types of figurative language or figures of speech that we're going to look at. The first one is simile, hyperbole. We're going to look at alliteration, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, oxymoron, and what you have there is shampoo. Okay, so that's a good way to remember that in order. So if you want to write those 7 down, where the first letter is spelled shampoo. So we don't want to forget to shampoo. Let's look at the first one, which is simile. Simile is when you compare 2 unlike things using the words like or as. So the word like or the word as has to be in there when you compare these 2 things that are not alike. For example, her eyes were like stars. You're comparing eyes to stars, and you notice the word like. Susan is as gentle as a kitten. So you're comparing her to a kitten. Now she is not a kitten, but you're saying she is gentle like a kitten and using the word as. The next one is hyperbole. When we use a hyperbole, it's an exaggeration that is so dramatic, no one could believe it. It's overstated to emphasize a point. This bag weighs a ton. Okay, well, the bag you're carrying is not going to be actually weighing 2,000 pounds, but you're stating it that way just to make a point that it's really, really heavy. I've told you 1,000,000 times to clean up your room. Again, it's overstated. Mom probably didn't tell you 1,000,000 times, but she's making a point. The next one is alliteration. Alliteration is the repeating of the same letter or the same sound, especially consonant sounds, and you'll hear these a lot in tongue twisters. Miss Warren was worried when Wendy was waiting. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And try to say all those real fast, right? Tongue twisters. So it's the same letter or the same sound that's just repeated. The next one is when we focus with alliteration in poetry. So here's an example of that. A flea and a fly and a flue were imprisoned, so what could they do? Said the fly, let us flee. Let us fly, said the flea, so they flew through a flaw in the flue. The next type is metaphor. Metaphor is when you compare, again, 2 unlike things, but you don't use the words like or as. So you call one thing the other thing, saying it is something else. He's a lion when he fights. So we didn't see the word like or as, like in simile. You're just saying that he is a lion when he fights. Her eyes were sparkling emeralds. Again, you're saying, calling her eyes emeralds. Not like emeralds, but that they are emeralds. My love is a red, red rose. Comparing love and rose. The next type is personification. Personification gives human characteristics to things that are not human. So human characteristics to things that are not human. The angry flood waters slapped the house. Okay. Water is not human. We think of, you can slap something with your hand, human, but in this case we're giving the water human characteristics. The sun smiled down on us. The sun is not human, but we're giving it the characteristic of smiling. The next one is onomatopoeia. This is the use of a word to describe or imitate a natural sound made by an object or an action. Words that sound like what they mean. Again, it's dealing with sounds. So you would have a bee that would buzz. So buzz. or a hit that pow, or a bird that sings tweet tweet, or zoom with a car, the hiss of a snake. An oxymoron are words or phrases in which contradictory or opposite terms are used together, and we call that an oxymoron. Like jumbo shrimp. Okay, so shrimp is small, jumbo is huge, but we're using them together. Jumbo shrimp. Or act naturally. That's an oxymoron. When you act, you're not supposed to be acting naturally. When we use the word or the terms adult child or climb down, those are two opposite words, but we might say them together. Baby grand. We are going to do a practice, so pause for a few seconds after each statement and write down which of the 7 figures of speech we just talked about would fit each statement. Just quickly write down your answer on notebook paper. You don't have to write the whole word either, so if it's personification, just write P, or if you think it's a simile, just write S. Okay, the first one. The streetcars are like frosted cakes covered with snowflakes. Number 2. The west wind dances down the road. Number 3. A train is a dragon that roars through the dark. Number 4. The band played to a small crowd at the concert. Number 5. She's as tiny as a mouse. Number 6. Her blonde hair shined like the sun. And number 7. Susan suddenly stretched slowly. So pause the video if you need more time. Okay, we're going to check our answers. So the first one, the streetcars are like frosted cakes covered with snowflakes. That is a simile because we have the word like. Cars like cakes. The second one, the west wind dances down the road. We have personification because you're giving the wind the ability to dance like a human. Number 3, a train is a dragon that roars through the dark. That is a metaphor. You're calling the train a dragon without using the word like or as. Number 4, the band played to a small crowd at the concert. That's an oxymoron because you're using the word small and crowd together. Number 5, she's as tiny as a mouse. That's a simile because you're comparing her to a mouse using the word as. Number 6, her blonde hair shined like the sun. That is a simile comparing the hair shining like the sun. So the hair and sun using the word like. And lastly, number 7, Susan suddenly stretched slowly. That is alliteration because you've got all the S's in there, all the S's sounds. Now that we've had our practice, let's take a practice test. Again, you'll have some statements. Write numbers 1 through 10 on your paper, and then write which use of figurative language is being used. Pause the video as you need. Number 1, the lightweight fighter lost so much weight he looked as thin as a rail. Number 2, Polly Peters positively played ping pong. Number 3, when the pitcher finished 9 innings, he was hungry enough to eat a horse. Number 4, crack went the bat as the pitcher hit a home run. Number 5, the ice in the arena was as smooth as glass. Number 6, the kite drank the wind and laughed across the sky. Number 7, we ate catfish for dinner. Number 8, the trophy glistened like gold in the sun during the awards ceremony. Number 9, Happy Harry handles handsprings horribly. And number 10, the water was a glove that enveloped the swimmer's body. Time to check our answers. Here's the key. Number 1, simile. Number 2, alliteration. Number 3, hyperbole. Number 4, onomatopoeia. Number 5, simile. Number 6, personification. Number 7, oxymoron. Number 8, simile. And number 9, alliteration. And lastly, number 10, metaphor. So don't forget to shampoo. Let's try a quiz now. See how many you can get. This time there are 12 statements. Can you recall which figurative language is being used? Number 1, the hockey player lost his control when the puck ran across the ice. Number 2, the snow on the ski hill was powdered sugar. Number 3, the coach was as upset as a lion when his team lost the game. Number 4, Freddie French fired 5 fabulous free throws. Number 5, the snowmobile was a rocket in the newly fallen snow. Number 6, the running shoes danced as the runner neared the finish line. Number 7, bang went the gun as the race started. Number 8, Stephen boxes in the light heavyweight division. Number 9, spotlighting several special sports shows seems significant for TV. Number 10, after the marathon, the runner was thirsty enough to drink the ocean. Number 11, the golf ball walked gently into the 9th hole. Number 12, the team members remained as cool as cucumbers after the game. So for fun, for extra credit, what do all the sentences have in common, besides containing figurative language, that is? Okay, here we have our quiz key. Number 1, personification. Give yourself a point if you got that one right. Number 2, metaphor. Number 3, simile. Number 4, alliteration. Number 5, metaphor. Number 6, personification. Number 7, onomatopoeia. Number 8, oxymoron. Number 9, alliteration. Number 10, hyperbole. Number 11, personification. Number 12, simile. And the bonus, sports. Let's finish with a poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. As you listen and read this poem, can you notice any forms of figurative language? 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.